What's up, everyone? Figured I might as well do a stream. It's just a matter of turning on my camera and letting it rip, I guess. So I figured since today is going to be quite, or tomorrow, I mean, when people see this, I don't know, it'd be 10/7. I have a feeling it's going to be a day to remember. That might be intentional. Someone might want us to all feel a certain way on this day. But I've been going through stock twits just for kicks and giggles, and the comments are just terrifying. Like I think they're all bots, but like it's just I mean I see other stuff like, and I wish there was certain things I would have realized, and this is one that I wish I would have realized, which is this is the M2 money supply. So when the government prints, um, stocks go up, right? The correlation's pretty clear. So in green we have the Qs, and in blue we have. Oh wait, do I have? Oh, oh, there we go. Oh, I was looking at the. Let's see, when would be a good time to start? 2023. Did I put? Hold on. Okay. Anyway, here's the. That's actually more of a dip than I would have thought. But as you can see, definitely the money printer was turned on. Let's see if we can put the same scale percentage. Yeah, I mean, when you, so I guess that's actually just the point. When you put it on the same scale, it's just not even close, right? At some point, we jump the shark, and so what I wish I would have realized is just that this effect, that as money goes into the economy, people were hedging inflation with just buying the tech stocks that were going to be fueling it, and they are good. But something's interesting is that I don't know that people are really oops, it's not showing my screen. Let's see. Oh, entire screen. That's what. Okay. So is the so the whole stock market went up today because AMD made some deal with OpenAI to buy chips. Are those chips that they would have bought anyway, or whoever was going to buy them for AMD or for OpenAI was going to buy them anyway? Probably. I mean, it is good that AMD knows, roughly how many they're going to sell, and they're selling them in wattage, which is an interesting metric. I think they're just doing that so that people can't count exactly how much it's worth, which is obviously what you do when you're doing a scam. So I think that the analysts say that it's somewhere between $5 and $10 billion worth of chips that OpenAI is going to buy from AMD. And if you think like they're let's see, actually I can just pull it up. AMD stock. So, say they get another 5, and on there, and it's not, but the thing is it's not going to hit until next year, till 2025. So if they're making 25 billion revenue, then they'll make 30 billion. Does that justify a 30% run? I don't think so. But I mean, I guess the question is what, like whether, like how sustainable is this, right? And I think a good example is what NVIDIA did. I'm not saying they're a good example for doing the right thing. A good example of what's really going on behind the scenes is they're giving money. Well, people that invest in are pumping the stock for NVIDIA. I'm going to be doing a post about it, but there's like a lot of people. I can't remember the different hedge funds, but so they own a lot of NVIDIA, and then they give money to CoreWeave. It's what's called round tripping, and so basically, NVIDIA is giving money to someone else to buy chips so that their revenue gets to go higher, so that their stock goes up. So it's just this scam, and it comes at the expense of, they're doing that to make it into top position, because if you have money, it's easier to make money, right? So because I mean, Intel was completely captured by Boston Consulting Group for the last like 10 or 15 years. So, I guess they weren't really a threat, but AMD probably could have done something a while ago. But their stock was suppressed. And I didn't know so recently that that out of all the stocks that were halted or restricted on the GameStop run up, that AMD was actually one, which it makes sense because the Magnificent Seven is kind of it's the main part of the Ponzi. So basically, the whole scam was, you short all these other stocks, mostly brick and mortar retail, GameStop, Bed Bath, all that, AMD, I guess whoever's not part of the team, or part of the cabal, I guess I could say. And then you use all that money you make shorting to pump it into the other stocks, right? And as they get pumped up each time, the rebalancing of the ETFs, like it slowly fills the biggest ETFs full of just those stocks. And that's something that happened. That's the whole reason the .com bubble popped, was because that happened with America Online. They completely captured the S&P 500. They had the lion's share of that, and the internet was the new thing. So, in some ways it was partially justified, but the problem was then, I mean, they're total crooks, and they ended up buying Time Warner, like an all stock payout, and just that's almost single handedly, that one action like collapsed the market. Is They needed their mafia buddies to have their exit liquidity, so they used the entire stock market for that. So, we hopefully shouldn't be falling into the same traps as we are, but if we look, there's a few things that are very similar to last time. Sorry if I'm jumping around. I didn't really plan on on streaming. So, for example, the ratio of gold to the Dow Jones, right, has only happened 3 times, and each one was a massive crash: 2008, 1929, 1973. This was what happened to the stock market in 2008, right after it crossed. So, 5% down, almost 5%, another 5%, another 4%. So, I mean, since that just crossed today, is that what we're going to see tomorrow? Right. Another one is the Japanese bond yield has been running, and if you match up the charts, you can see that every time, because this is like the other part of the scam. So one part of the scam is you're shorting stocks. The other part of the scam is that you borrow a bunch of money from Japan for really low interest rates, and then you use that to buy the large caps, the Mag 7. So you can see a correlation between the rates, the bond yield of the Japanese 30-year bond, and this is the Qs, as far the basically tracks the whole market. And so each time you see one goes up, the other goes down, right? And they respond this is the 4-hour chart. So they respond pretty quickly to each other. I mean, I guess depends on if there's noise. Sometimes I guess it would take a while to respond, but you think like how much of a move? I mean, some like this part of that's, I guess there's some weird stuff going on here, but as far as like how quickly it reacts, but you can see like this move right here in the middle, that one quite sharply. You can see that um, quite clearly in the chart. Well, now you have this huge gap up. So you have a gap up and then another gap. So, I mean, the first gap up that could have been, whatever, right? That like maybe it was, a fake out or something. It's like, nope, it continued on today, right? It's probably still ripping. So, the stock market has to respond, right? Because each day they're going to want to jam in money from Japan here. Because with the carry trade, I think that's one of the reasons why Jerome Powell isn't lowering the rates is because he doesn't. Well, I guess there's a lot of reasons why he's not, but one of them is that the carry trade is the difference between the rates here and the rates in Japan. And so if Japan has like zero interest rates or negative interest rates, and we have 5% interest rates, well, there's you can arbitrage that. And so they'd lend there, and then even just whatever, you could buy bonds here and make money, right? So as that, Japan just raised their rates and we're lowering our rates, and so now it's not as advantageous to do the Japanese carry trade, and so they're going to start unwinding those positions. And all the people that have already borrowed, we're going to see what happens when they have to unwind. And now this spike shows that it's going to be a lot more painful. So I do think we're going to see a sharp correction here. And let's see, I have been jumping around. I'm trying to think what was my first. I was talking about about CoreWeave, right? Okay, we're actually gonna get back to that. Sorry. Just to say, like, what's different this time? Is it just that the Feds are going to print money? Are we really are we really waiting for just the Feds to cut the rates and then the stock market rips? Like, is that just always how it works? I was actually asking Grok recently. I was like, so what's the M2 money supply, right? Like how I said, how many stocks, what's the market cap of the entire stock market? And it said like $70 trillion. And then there's like 30 trillion of treasury bonds and corporate bonds. And there's the M2 money supply is like 30 trillion, right? So you have more than double in the stock market. And, it's interesting because AI was trying to shrug that off, but it's like the money has to come from somewhere, right? And I think you start to see with the gold, right? So we see the gold ratio. And there's also shoot, where's the other? Oh yeah, right here. So this is the stock market compared to the M2 money supply, right? So it's interesting that like I was having the same thoughts as these guys. I don't even know how to say that, Kolbesi letter, and the bar charts, right? Like they keep flashing all these charts, and which so I think that matters because obviously, if it has the ability to predict things like the .com bubble and the 2008 financial crash, right? So we're right here. We saw a correction when we hit the 2008 level, And so now we're higher than 2008 level. We're actually up here right where this little, um, I don't know, I guess support line or whatever is, or resistance line. So I think that, it matters, right? It matters because I don't think the money really exists. Like, it's not that people are making a ton of money, right? Consumer spending isn't like relatively up this high. So it's like, I think that this is kind of an indicator that, the money that's actually in the market is not real, right? So what if you say you get, you have a bunch, say you have $1 million worth of Nvidia, right? And it pumps up to $2 million. Well, now you have $2 million worth of collateral you can use, right? And so what do? You buy more Nvidia, right? And I think that that's what people have been doing for a while. And so they have like all their margin filled out because you get only certain stocks can you use margin, and different stocks have different amounts of margin that they allow. So if someone has a Mag 7 stock, right, they can have the maximum amount of margin. And since that's been the case for a long time, it's you that they've gone up higher than what the cost to borrow is just for a regular margin account. And so I think that, as we see a pullback, I mean, we could start seeing margin calls, as it contracts, right? Because like their whole portfolio is all ones that are highly used on margin, right? Like you can't buy GameStop on margin. So that can't happen to GameStop, right? Other things can happen to GameStop, but not that, right? So I think that it does matter. I think that the money doesn't exist. I think that they can kick the can down the road as far as settlement for different things, and they can move money around. But even right now, they can't use the repo window to borrow. The banks can't borrow money, overnight for any of these liquidity crises they have. And so, like, they're going to have to make choices, right? Let's say they need money, they're going to have to sell, right? There's a bank in Hong Kong. I mean, lots of things going on in Hong Kong with their housing market, and so I think they have like $25 billion worth of bad loans. Well, if they're holding any of the Mag 7 stocks, they're going to have to sell, and you're going to start to see stop losses hit as people set stop losses for if the price moves down, and so all that automatic selling will probably flush it down. And who's going to come in for support to come in and buy, right? Like, I think everyone that wants to be in the stock market's all pretty much all the way in. People are, the greed index is really high. It's like people are either really excited about Bitcoin or, I mean, geez, I even have a friend that knows like nothing about crypto. And he's like, man, like I hear I'm supposed to get into Ethereum. I'm like, bro, don't like, just don't do it. And yeah, so I just think that it's not like people have a ton of cash sitting on the side. And plus you have to think about all the uncertainty, right? So what uncertainty is there? Well, I didn't know this till just now. So it's like gold moves closer to 4,000 on US shutdown and French crisis. And I was like, what the heck's the French crisis, right? So, one, we have like, for some reason, we've gotten a boost during the US shutdown, which is odd. I mean, I guess it happens typically, but, typically with the uncertainty, people will move to certainty, which is something like gold or just cash, right? And I mean, I get the Mag 7 is not like a terrible thing, I guess, to move into, but it just, for the upside potential, it's like, oh, there's probably 1% more we could squeeze out of it, or who knows? Like, I don't know how many percent they think is just the risk to return. It just boggles my mind as far as it seeing it as a safe asset in the level of crisis that we're in, right? So the French crisis apparently is that, let's see, in France, Sebastian Lecornu resigned as prime minister after failed attempts to reach consensus on budget spending with political parties, with the deadlock thwarting attempts to rein in the largest fiscal deficit in the euro area. Meanwhile, Sanae Takai's near certain elevation as the next Japanese prime minister also has jolted financial markets. So that's the crazy thing, is they have a new prime minister in Japan and France, and it wasn't like a planned thing. It was like they got kicked out, right? So that's a lot of uncertainty, and the VIX is starting to show that. And I think that you have the VIX and the dollar, right? So if the VIX and the dollar and gold are all saying there's a lot of uncertainty, it's like crazy to see basically this race to gotta change my chart to this race of like who's gonna like a game of chicken, right? It's like one of them has to be wrong. It's either gold and the VIX and the dollar, or it's the large caps, right? So, and also, I just saw a comment. Hopefully, GME stays strong. Yeah, I'll get to GME. GME is definitely, if I, wherever I had money, I'd be parking it in GameStop, right? So, I was gonna try and pick up some weeklies, and they didn't have weeklies because of the warrants coming out. So that was a bummer. They didn't have weeklies for this week. But yeah, definitely GameStop. I mean, it's all cash, right? So I think Ryan Cohen knows this is going to happen, and we're going to have a huge pullback, and then GameStop's going to come in and be able to buy the crap out of the dip, right? So that's going to be cool. I'll be curious to see what he buys, but I mean, a 10% pullback from here would not be, I mean, it'd be pretty expected. We'll see what he does with his cash. But yes, if people don't, if people still think that GameStop is just a brick and mortar video game store, I guess they don't deserve to have the upside potential, right? At this point, you gotta do your research. There's some deep value that's right there. I mean, it's a pile of cash. So let's see, what was I going to? Yeah, so just the uncertainty. It's just this race, right? So looking at gold, looking at the dollar. The dollar has, I think I reposted someone's right here. Yeah. So bar chart's been on fire today, right? So the US dollar 14-year support, it's now or never, right? Okay. So that's been my thesis right now, is that, when people, when people sell their stock, they have to actually buy a dollar. I mean, that's what like the brokerage does. So, when people move from their stocks, it does make the dollar rise. That's one of the reasons the dollar has been going down. It's been really confusing to me that the Japanese yen was going down, so the dollar was strengthening against the yen, but then the dollar was still going down, but then the euro was going down harder. I'm just like what the crap is up? Like if we're still down, maybe Swiss franc or something. I'm not really sure, but yeah, so the dollar is at a support line. Like it needs to rebound from here, and you can see it coiling up, right? Maybe I should just pull up the whoa. 1 month view is pretty crazy. Yeah, you can see all my, I haven't deleted them yet, but it's been down. It's been down for a while. That was some back testing I did too. So it's just like it's, I mean, even right here, right, for it to get to where this previous support that's had for a long time, almost at 100, right? That's what's that going to do? So let's say that, and it did it recently. Dang, I should delete some of these. Let's see, all the way back August 1st, right? It did it, and back in May, right? So I don't know. You start to see it look like it's trying to break up and at least test this. So that's my thesis right now. That's why, um, I've got a little bit in this inverse leverage, the daily semiconductors. So rip to me, right? So I was like, okay, I got this cool idea. I think there's gonna be a pullback. There's got to be a pullback, and I was like, Nvidia is gonna go down. So all the way, actually, that's on the day chart. Turn off after hours. So it's up here, and I was like, okay, I'm a genius. Let's do this, right? So right here, I bought the SOXS, and just like I thought, right? I thought that Nvidia was a bigger portion of this because the SOXS is an inverse, like 3x leveraged account. And so I was right. All of a sudden, it just starts going down, and then I was like, okay, why isn't it going up, right? And then it was like, oh well, Micron is ripping. I'm like, oh my gosh, come on. Like, and Broadcom was, as well, not as much, but it was mainly Micron that was holding it up. So I wake up this morning and it's like down even more, and I was like, what the freak just happened? And I'm like, what else? What other chips are even in it? Those are like the main three, right? And I look at like the balance sheet. I was like, literally getting ready to like call, to see like whether these ETF makers were just like, I don't know, doing some kind of shenanigans. And I was like, well, AMD's on there. And I was like, but there's no way. And I like pull up the chart and I was like, holy gap, what is going on? So yeah, that was weird, right? And yeah, I mean, it's just I think that they're trying to buy one more day, right? Because I guess that brings us back to, I guess, the point, right? Is this a 1 day thing, right? I mean, I think that the deal with OpenAI is good in the sense that it's it's a signal saying that OpenAI is going to make an effort instead of just going with NVIDIA, right? Make an effort to diversify, which is cool, right? But that's kind of smart. I mean, I think anyone would have guessed that just because like it's not really good to not diversify because you make yourself dependent, right? So that leads us back to this, right? So CoreWeave, right, has been buying all these NVIDIA chips, and they're calling themselves an AI hyperscaler, right? But like, they're literally not making money; they're losing money, and like losing more money each year. Is like, oh, we're scaling up, and so it's costing a lot, right? But they're really not generating like any profit, right? I mean, they're literally losing, you know, a third of $1 billion, right? That's like a lot, right? But they're like, oh, we have revenue backlog, which is $30 billion. So what's revenue backlog? That's mark to market, right? That's the accounting scandal that literally Enron was doing. They just renamed it. Like, how is that even possible, right? So and I asked Grok just because I know that all the algos controlling the market, right, have the similar kind of AI. And I'm like, hey, is this bad? Are these bad like financials? And it's like, no, it's good. It has all this like revenue backlog, and it's like, if it's real revenue, why don't you just count it, right? So the thing is that they're not making money, right? They had a whole, I mean, from 20, I think they started several years before, right? So it's like, if at this point from 2024 to 2025 they're not finding a way to monetize these servers, like what does that say about how that's going to be in 2026? Well, I mean, who's the major buyer of AI going to be for the next at least a year or two? It's going to be the government, right? So, and that's actually kind of an interesting point, right? So what are they going to use that AI for? I mean, it's going to be for surveillance, right? And who is it? What graphics card company specializes in video surveillance, graphics processor units? Is it NVIDIA or is it AMD or is it Intel? It's actually Intel, right? So NVIDIA has great, obviously the best, gaming GPUs, right? Just because of like features and different stuff. I mean, I guess AMD is like, it's up there, I guess, with it. But Intel for a while, their focus hasn't been. They actually pulled someone from someone high up at NVIDIA, and their focus has been basically to be the government provider, right? So anyway, like I'm just saying, like for AI to really be worth it, the main buyer will be the government, and I don't know. I just think that it's pretty easy to price all that in, and I just I don't think that I don't think it's wild. I don't think it's going to change the amount forecasted for AMD in 2026. But even then, it's still not till 2026. I mean, we're talking the processors that they got don't come out until almost 12 months from now, right? So they can't buy them until they have them, right? But it just, you can see that this scam has got us this far, and people are using NVIDIA as the standard, but it just really isn't. So anyway, that's funny. That was a should I buy ETH? Michael, don't, bro. Yeah, I mean, you got to think, who's the buyer, right? Who is the buyer? Why are they buying it, right? Like, and I don't know. I mean, I my first kind of venture into really the stock market, one of them at least, was actually my first stock I bought was Intel, actually, just because I grew up around a big Intel campus. So I was like, oh, and I liked using their processors. But the first kind of, when I got into trading, was Polygon. And so it just kind of shows how the government can or big companies can pick the winners and losers, right? So today OpenAI picked the winner of the chips, for the day at least. But Polygon got crapped on, right? So it was labeled as a security. Boom, gets pulled off of Robinhood, and just like, all the other coins go up to. I didn't have any at the time, I don't think. But yeah, so like that's just the thing, is you got to see like who's going to be the buyer, right? And that's been something I guess we should have realized about GameStop, is like, who is going to be buying these stocks, right? Because all the institutions were intentionally not buying it because they were all short, right? So then is it just retail, right? It's like, okay, well then who's going to settle the stocks, right? Who has invested interest in actually making sure the shares settle? And it's like, no one. except for us, and we can't do anything about it, right? So that's the problem. I think that's one thing that Ryan Cohen's doing is he is selling these bonds. He's speaking their language, and it's like, look, I'm going to make this really appealing for you guys, and he can raise a ton of money as he just builds the market cap up higher and higher. And yeah, so I mean, I think we're going to see. I think the capital raises will be different because at some point there has to be a fundamental change to the business. I mean, we saw the GameStop arcade, right, with the collectibles, and that can be expanded to literally any type of product, which would be cool, right? Like, say you're a streamer, I could put this as on the GameStop arcade, right? That'd be, just like random items that a streamer owns or whatever, or signed merch or whatever. That I think is coming. Who knows how soon? But I think that they're just testing it out and making sure they have. I think that once they move up to bigger products other than cards, they would have to make sure they had all the storage. So maybe that part will be a little bit longer. It's pretty straightforward, I guess, to store cards, especially if they're already in the little cases and stuff. So, but anyway, GameStop is going to make some kind of fundamental change, whether it's right now. I think the Bed Bath and Beyond portion, Teddy. I don't know. I mean, it could happen at any time. I wasn't thinking about talking about that tonight. I don't know. I there's lots of things that I see online that make me excited about it, but I also just am not holding my breath just because I think anytime between now and Thanksgiving, Teddy making Thanksgiving great again, it's going to happen in the perfect time. Totally could be the 7th. I mean, it could be tomorrow. Yeah, it could be tomorrow. Who freaking knows? This would be that'd be great. I just I'm focusing on things I can control, which apparently it's not not the stock market either. Let's see. Yeah, but that's one thing I'm seeing is the dollar rebounding. So it's interesting to see all these like things that have rarely happened or never happened before. And this is one I was literally telling my wife like last night. It says this has never happened before. The volatility index, VIX, has risen, 1.3 points over 5 consecutive days. Over the same time, the S&P 500 has gained 1.09%. This also advancing for 5 days straight. So it's funny. I actually literally asked AI. I was like, so how many times has this happened before? And I asked it about the SPY and the Qs, and I think it said that the biggest streak for one of them was 6 days, and the other one was 7 days. So, so I was like, okay, well, that should suggest there's gonna be a pullback, and then there wasn't. So it's even more likely that it's gonna be this time because it can't just keep printing those green candles. Something's gonna break. Since the creation of the VIX in 1990, both measures have never recorded such a streak, according to Goldman Sachs. The closest were 4-day streaks of the VIX alongside the S&P 500 in 1995 and 1996. Wow, that's actually kind of interesting. I just realized that. So why is that? That's when they repealed the Glass-Steagall Act. And so Bill Clinton did this so that all the banks could consolidate. So that means we know what's happened in the background. It's something similar to what happened then when you had Chase Bank bought out, was it like Chemical Bank or something? And anyway, there's just all these banking mergers. I think that was actually one of the main roles that Jeffrey Epstein was doing, was helping these bank mergers happen. Because he would know people at different banks, and you just kind of, and he also was close to Bill Clinton, right? So he comes in, helps Bill Clinton repeal the Glass-Steagall Act and then helps the banks all merge, right? That was, I think that was his main thing he was working on, right? All the trafficking of kids and whatnot, that's just like to make sure the other things actually happen. This comes as total call option volume has surpassed 40 million contracts a day on average over the last 20 trading days for the first time. Why is volatility rising with equal prices, with equity prices like never before, right? I guess we're gonna find out tomorrow, right? So yeah, it was interesting because earlier this week I was playing the VIX through UVXY, and it's just a little cheaper. Actually, I just kind of see which one is the cheapest, because sometimes the premium is a little more juiced on different ones. But yeah, so made a little bit on that one actually, just because I'm like, okay, well, I know the VIX is going to go up. It didn't go up quite as fast as I was thinking. It was because it was like fighting the whole market. But yeah. So the VIX going up, gold going up, and the dollar it has been going up. I mean, it started its upward trend. If I go back to right, so I was I was getting really excited. I thought this is going to be the breakout, and then I thought, I was like, okay, and then it reset, and then it went back down. I'm like, what the heck is it doing? I guess the dollar lost to get people were just, anyway. And then I thought it was going to break out here again. It didn't break out, but I do think this is now our breakout. I mean, it did gap up to the trend line that I had drawn, right? It was crazy. I woke up and it's like, oh, boom, and it's like bouncing off it. I was like, okay, it goes up. Then it comes back down and literally touches it again. I'm like, dang, I drew that really well. So I guess I should extend it. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's done testing it. I think it's just going to make another huge leg up. All right. Oh, this is also spicy. Do you believe? Actually, I mean, I do think that there's a reason why the stock market's going to crash on on October 7th. It might have something to do with Herod the Great and what he did to make sure everyone was crying on his special day. Yeah, I think that's all. Maybe I will do. Let's see. Hey, Michael, this is the leg guy. How have you been? Any news on Bed Bath? Yeah, so let's see. Oh, there's actually so much, like, off the top of my head to let's see. Should I dig into it? Actually, I did do. Let's see. I did do some posts on it a little bit ago. I haven't been following it as closely just because I know it's going to happen when it happens. But there's just so much going on, like politically and everything else. It's just kind of like, oh, also just this, like the delinquency rates, right? So it's like, obviously the money in the market's not like people, right? It's just, the bubble is real. Oh, this was interesting, right? So Rite Aid, right? So they're doing a lawsuit against their board. Their plan man is going after their board because, I mean, he was facilitating all this drug trafficking. Pretty solid case. I don't know. So the thing that got me excited about this is one, Bed Bath and Beyond and Rite Aid had like all the same lawyers. They were using precedent. Literally, one would establish the precedent because this is a new style of bankruptcies. These Chapter 11s. One would establish a precedent in court. They would get the judge to pass something, and then the other one would use that same thing the next day. So it went back and forth between the two. And I think there was even a council where the CEO of Rite Aid was like on this council for Bed Bath and Beyond's like bankruptcy, right? So that was pretty interesting. And what got me excited when I saw this, apart from it just means because I have some Rite Aid shares as well, that the precedent has officially been set, which I think because they could have done this. This was the plan for a long time for them to do this lawsuit. But I think that there's something called the business deference rule, which is where it makes it really hard for people to sue the board of companies because it's like, oh, well, that's just business judgment. So there's like a lot of leeway that they're given, right? So there isn't really any precedent of holding them accountable for the last like 30 years at least. And because that's when they changed it, actually 40, 50 years, maybe even. So I think that the whole time that was their plan, was to hold the board accountable, and people put things in place. Like there was money that was like injected into Rite Aid. Anyway, like I think that I think that they just needed the Bed Bath lawsuit against the board to actually go through so that it was official. They could use the precedent, like not only that you can go after them, but like how much you consume for, right? And so I think that money, that case went through, and then like maybe even the money came through. Like it's finally like done deal for Bed Bath maybe, and that's why they suddenly like, okay, well, this is exactly how it played out, and this is what we're going to do. So I don't know. I think the money might be ready for the waterfall because of that with Bed Bath. Like could happen tomorrow. Who knows? I think for Rite Aid, though, it might take a while just because they might have to go through the same like year or two of lawsuits. There is a chance that someone could basically put the money up and say, hey, you're going to sue them for, $1 billion. Like I'll give you, 800 million up front. And then, and then you can just pay me. I'll take the $1 billion when you finish the lawsuit. Right. So it's possible that shareholders could get the money up front and then not have to wait the 2 years. It also could be that it's like, basically, look, this is exactly how it's going to shake out. There's literally nothing you can do about it. And, maybe they already negotiated this kind of settlement or something. And so maybe from that end, it could go quickly. We'll see. I mean, I guess they still could give out warrants for Rite Aid. I haven't seen them announce that yet. I mean, I think for Bed Bath, like I don't know, it could go either way. I think we could get warrants for like from like the new overstock, right? Now that the waterfall reaches, because the creditors have to be paid out, right? For yeah, I don't know. I think it's possible. I think it's possible we could get warrants from there. I'm not banking on it. Yeah. Oh yeah, some Grok stuff. See, I haven't really dug into this, but basically I was asking, about it being added here. It was saying for a butterfly reorganization entity like this, designed for tax efficient asset spinoffs, such an addition shortly after emergence highlights resilience and integration back into the mainstream. So, I don't know. I didn't dig into it just because like I knew other people would, and at this point, it's like it's just I already know it's going to happen, so I'm just not worried, and I know that no one knows the timing. So if someone else cares to know the exact mechanics, like go for it. uh, but yeah, let's see. So Richie, um, talk about GME. Tell if there are any warrant distribution issues tomorrow. I don't know. I'm very curious. I mean, I do think they're going to counterfeit the warrants. I feel like there was already a post that kind of showed that there was already like a cash equivalent one and then a regular one. So I'm not sure if the warrants are going to be what really lights the fuse. I mean, it definitely could be. I mean, yeah, we could just see it rip tomorrow. Or I mean, the PMO is already, and the weekly RSI have already kind of signaled that GameStop's about ready to run. According to those, yeah, according to those ones, it's going to be, it could take a whole nother week. So, I mean, we'll see. It might be, I don't know what we're waiting for, to be honest. Like, we might be waiting for Roaring Kitty, right? Like, maybe that's just what it is. Like, yeah. Let's see. Do you see Pulte quoted that post twice tonight that you commented on about MBS being tied to? I didn't see that. He quoted it twice. Interesting. I don't know, but I think it's. I mean, I can't remember who did it, but like, it was it Dirtivator or someone. I don't know. Whoever was posting about it, like I trust them. So I think I kind of verified the numbers, and the numbers were the same. It totally makes sense, right? Like if the government was going to back to guarantee something, right? And that's even funnier, right? Because we were trying to. So I remember like it's something like I feel like almost like it must have been a dream because like I feel like I'm one of the only people who remembers it, but maybe there wasn't a ton of people watching the court hearing. But I remember when the bondholders, the 14% bondholders, were like, they're like, no, like we like you got to monetize the nulls, like we don't want to like sign on to some contemplated plan. And then they said, well, if you sign this NDA, you can see who the guarantor is, and if you knew, that might change your mind. It's like, so I was thinking like, oh, it's probably like the guarantor is either Ryan Cohen or GameStop or Carl Icahn or whatever. And now I'm like, oh, the guarantor was the full faith of the the U.S. government, right? Oops, that's not letting me. Dang it. It's not letting me pull up the link from here. I guess you could DM me at Richie. That'd be. Oh, you DM'd it. You did DM it to me. Okay. All right. This is the post Pulte quoted twice and commented on it. Some account linked to your post earlier today. Mortgage. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not seeing anything specifically in there. I think the person who linked it is just one of us. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that is how it's happening. I think those mortgage-backed securities are for the creditors, though. I think it's for the store people, like all that stuff. And I think that's why those freaking, what was it, Orange County or whatever, the California lease, why they made sure they weren't part of the plan is because then they, you know, they could have been what's called bonded over, right? That debt could have just been bonded over, and they slipped through, and then that just messed up the whole waterfall mechanism. I don't know if that's why we were waiting, to be honest. Like at this point, like it's all so crazy, and a lot of people are really obsessed with dates, and things have to go in order. I don't know. I really don't know, but I do think that that's how it could go. Let's see, Moonlander. When GME popped 2x in May, June 24, there were strong sell-offs in the corn futures and yen. This coincided with swap expiries and rolling contracts. Do you think we are waiting for macro events? Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think options that are at to the 17th are going to be totally fine. I mean, that's why I choose in the money, right? like I kept saying 23s, and yeah, because the two I suggested before, one was for August 15th. Those ones got totally torched. Sorry about that. And then the October 17th $23 calls would have been up. You know, if you would have sold once it peaked, which you should take profits. It would have been up like 3x, I think. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'll maybe I'll go look at some macro stuff for GameStop. I've just been trying to figure out exactly what's what's going on in the macro, because it's just like this is blowing my mind. I'm like, there has to be a pullback, and yeah, and also, I mean, we're in the government shutdown right now, so yeah, like the repo window for banks borrowing money isn't open, so that makes things harder for them. I think that might be part of what GameStop was waiting for the whole time. Let's see. After Bobby Chapter 11, 2 tickets to Epstein Island are on me, Michael. That's funny. Thanks, Apes. RC has his shares on margin. So I talked to someone at Charles Schwab. They said like warrants on margin was not a problem. I think that like we're just a little bit more autistic than everyone else. So we're like thinking, yeah, but like how are they delivered? Like who's paying them? Because if someone's short, they owe them, and it's if your broker is lending out your shares without your permission, they're going to get they're on the hook to give you what they owe you, right? So if they're lending it out, it's fine. Doesn't matter. I wouldn't be scared about it. A lot of people have already gotten theirs, actually, depending on their broker. I don't know if that's a European thing or not. Not really sure, but yeah, he'll get his warrants. And oh wait, no, he couldn't exercise on margin. Actually, had interesting. I don't know. I guess it depends on how much margin he has. Because if his margin is from his other stocks, because he's got a lot of Apple and whatnot. Let's see. Yeah. All right. Sweet. Well, longer stream than I was planning on, I guess. But appreciate you all, and good luck in the markets. Make good choices. Take profits. Be responsible. Do your homework. Man, I'm sure I'm not the only one learning things the hard way, but at least we're learning, right? Oh yeah, Richie said it's crazy how everything has been planned. Like, why did Pulte have those events? Right, there is zero realistic explanation. He knew he was getting into that position, and he knew how this would play. This would all play out. Yeah, I think there's a lot of signals, and that's figure out who you trust, and I think good things are happening. I'm really excited. I think that Pulte came in for a lot of reasons. I think that it's all the most creative people that ended up coming out. Like, it's not just now that there's been really creative thinkers, people that have their own life outside of, the finance world, that have been getting involved in stocks. And so it just makes sense that if you were going to kind of refresh the country, that helping out retail shareholders would be really smart, because they're people that have a separate life, but also are financially inclined, right? So you give them money and they're going to be great, entrepreneurs and whatnot. Um, and yeah, so I think that that's been the plan for a long time. I think this plan has been, and this plan was probably hatched all the way back in 2017 or whatever, because the roadmaps for everything was already all laid out. There, the tokenization process. I don't want to scroll all the way back and try and find it, but I had a post about that, which I guess I kind of could. It was pretty interesting. As far as the timeline, it's like, yeah, I definitely post a lot. Well, actually, man, I was just going to sign off, but fine. Just whoops, a little bit more like this. Actually, this isn't what I was thinking of, but the banks lost a lot of money. So I mean, like what happened in here, right? Like, is this intentional? I mean, I think part of this is like, say you were, you know, the whole mafia bust out model is like you buy something, you gut it, and then you burn it down and you collect the insurance, right? So it's like they have these kind of ritualistic sort of holocausts of different companies, where as soon as like a company is worth more dead than alive, they just load it up, right? Say they knew something was going to go down, it's like, okay, well, we'll give this person the other end of the swap. Or maybe that's just yeah, I guess they would. I mean, Credit Suisse took a huge risk by, I think, taking the other end of that swap for GameStop, all of XRT, the Bed Bath and stuff. But I don't think they thought they were going to go bankrupt. I think that they thought that XRT was all those stocks were going to go bankrupt and they'd be fine, and they were wrong, right? But yeah, so I think the plan has been going for a while. They've known this was happening. Let's see. No, it wasn't that one. Yeah, this was me thinking it was going to pull back. Rip. Government officially shut down. War with Russia just escalated. Hamas, Israel deadline 2 days. Tanker plane headed to Iran for bombing. Yemen threatened American ships. ICE raids in Chicago and Oregon. Market all-time highs for no reason. Trump just bought bonds. Dollar rebounding because, see, I thought the dollar was going to be rebounding, but that was when it pulled back. People are mass canceling Netflix, which is one of the Mag 7. Some tariffs started. This is the guy that Israel is trying to put as leader of Iran. Yeah. So, some people are like, "Oh, why do you bring up all this like old history and whatnot? Why does it matter?" And it's like, okay, like the fact that they think that they could put this guy as president, like, is insane. That's literally insane. Like, I mean, if you were like, "Hey, look, let's draw up like a peace treaty and like make some deals to go some back and forth," I'm sure they would negotiate. But like, if they're going to try and put this dude, like, that's literally crazy. Yeah. Great Photoshop work. Thanks, Ace Ventura. Dang, where was this? Oh, no, it wasn't that one. Think we're getting there. Come on. Oh, here we go. So this is the roadmap, right? 2018. So I'm sure it was all like, actually, when did blockchain even? Let's see. It's 2009, I think. 2008. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I think there was like a general plan from 2008, and then I think that maybe in 2017 the plan got a little bit adjusted from there. Um, but yeah, actually, I mean, if you guys haven't read this book, I mean, if you're interested, right? Like, I mean, this was super fascinating, because this is Citadel, right? Um, and like, this isn't old. This O'Connor's, like, they were the first, one of the first market makers for options, or they were they were a clearinghouse for options, right? So to see that connection, I'd have to go back through the post, um, but the craziest thing is just like how old this like Wall Street cabal is. Like, literally, this Legion of Honor down here, um, that's basically the biggest holder of the Amsterdam stock market, um, which is like started in 1285, right? It's like 740 years ago. One of the biggest holders is basically the Legion of Honor, right, of France, this like royal merit-based society. And I think that's just how it works, is they have this stock market, and you have these honor societies, and that's how things are verified within that stock market. So anyway, it's just crazy to see this, what started all the way back then, and the corruption that they came out of it, to see that be held accountable is pretty interesting. So anyway, appreciate you all, love you, and I hope you have a really